The hardest part of making the Vietnamese soup pho is pronouncing it the right way. The rest is easy. It's spelt P-H-O, and you might want to call it pho, but it's pronounced pho. And the most important part of it is that beautiful, rich, delicious broth that makes up the base. We're going to cheat just a little bit by starting with really good beef broth and then enhancing it. And we're going to enhance it with beef bones that have a lot of gelatin in them and some meat to give our broth even more flavor. These are leg bones. Leg bones or knuckle bones are the best bones to use for this, but we're going to boil them first just for 10 minutes. This is going to rid the bones of some of the impurities and ensure that our final broth is nice and clear and not cloudy. First step is to cover them with cold water. That's very important that the water be cold. Bring it to a simmer and simmer it for 10 minutes. Now this step is optional, but it really does make a difference to the look of your final dish, not the flavor. In the meantime, let's get some of our vegetables ready to enhance that broth. I'm going to take just the root end and the stem end off of that onion and cut it into quarters. And put it onto a sheet pan. I'm going to peel the ginger with the back of my knife, and then I'm going to cut it in half lengthwise. Pop this onto your sheet tray and preheat your broiler to its highest setting. Now there are a couple of other ways that you can char your onions and ginger. You can put it onto your barbecue, or you can even char it over your gas flame on your stovetop. If you don't have a gas stovetop, however, the broiler is perfectly good to use. All you need is some good black char marks on those onions and ginger. More the merrier, but just make sure you have some good black pieces. Now our stock has been simmering and you'll find a foam on the top of the stock. We're going to strain this, rinse the bones with cold water, clean out our stock pot, and start making our broth. Now the first step is going to include toasting some spices. So I'm going to turn my pan on to about a medium-high heat, and in here I'm going to add some cinnamon stick, a few star anise pods, and then some cloves and a few coriander seeds. We're going to wait for that to be fragrant. It'll take just about a minute or two. Oh, your kitchen should start to smell amazing. Now it's time to add all of our other ingredients. We're going to put those bones back in here. We're going to add all of our charred vegetables. Then I'm going to smash some garlic cloves and add this to the mix. And now we're going to pour in cold beef stock. I'm going to use already good quality stock just to give us a little bit of a jump on making this flavorful broth. The bones are going to add a nice texture and gelatinous structure to the broth. Those charred vegetables are going to give us smokiness, and all those spices are going to flavor it beautifully. We're going to bring this to a simmer and we're going to let this go for about an hour at least. If you go longer, even better. Let that simmer with the lid just askew because I'm trying to preserve all that liquid and I want to limit the evaporation. The time spent simmering is for those flavors to blend beautifully. Now that it's simmered for at least an hour, I'm going to strain all those solid ingredients out of the broth. To do this, I'm going to use a very fine strainer. You need a strainer this fine because it has to catch something as small as a clove. You can discard all these solid ingredients now, but we're going to save that broth. Put that broth back into your stock pot. And we want to keep it extra hot. We're going to season it now with a little bit of soy sauce and a tiny bit of fish sauce as well. You can do this to taste. Taste a little bit of the broth, add some fish sauce, taste, add more if you need it. While that's simmering, it's just enough time for you to cook some rice noodles. These are an important part of pho. You're going to cook them according to the package instructions. Usually it's just covering with boiling water and letting them sit for 5 or 10 minutes. We're also going to slice up some sirloin steak. I've frozen my sirloin steak for just about 30 minutes to make it easier to slice. Now it's time to have some fun and build your bowl of pho. First thing goes in is some rice noodle. Traditionally, you use a flat rice noodle for pho, but you can really put any kind of rice noodle in that you like. On top of that, I'm going to layer some of our beef. The beef goes in raw, but when we pour the hot broth over it, it's just enough heat to cook that beautifully. Now every bowl is really up to the eater. I'm going to put in a little bit of julienned carrot, some hot chili pepper, some scallion, And now I'm gonna ladle this simmering broth. It's very important that the broth be at a boil when you pour this in, because it's this hot broth that is gonna cook our steak. Pour that hot broth directly over those slices of sirloin and you'll see them change color. You'll also see this soup start to come to life. Some bean sprouts, some fresh mint leaves, some cilantro, and a squeeze of lime. It's so pretty already. Let's take this right to the table, and you're gonna serve this alongside some hoisin sauce or some sriracha sauce, which people can add to their own bowls. That is a hearty Vietnamese soup, so good for you, so refreshing, and yet so fulfilling all at the same time.